weather, it's this huge quiet force that's always there. It decides if your flight is on time, what you pay for power.
Whether your crops make it through the season,
No.
even your safety.
Exactly. And yet, we only really notice the forecast when it goes completely spectacularly wrong.
And those failures, they're a good reminder of just how massive and chaotic the atmosphere really is. For, almost a century, predicting it meant tackling this incredibly complex physics problem.
Right, with these massive simulations, what meteorologists call numerical weather prediction, or NWP.
And that's been the bedrock. But now that approach has a radical new partner.
Which is Google DeepMind AI, specifically their system, WeatherNext 2, or just WN2.
Right.
And the really core idea here is a total shift in philosophy. Instead of brute forcing the physics every single time, WN2 treats the atmosphere like a pattern learning problem.
That is the absolute kernel of it. And that's what we want to unpack today. We're going to get into what WN2 actually is, how it stacks up against the old workhorses, and I think most importantly, how you can start using what it produces.
Whether you're just curious about a storm or you're trying to build some kind of enterprise-level system.
Exactly. And it all flows from two main breakthroughs. One is just incredible speed.
And the other is something called probabilistic forecasting, which really changes how we think about risk.
So let's dig into the mechanics first.
Okay, so to get why WN2 is such a big deal, we have to start with the traditional system, right? The NWP.
You have to. You have to appreciate what institutions like the European Center for Medium-Range Weather Forecasts, everyone just calls them ECMWF, have built.
And ECMWF is really the gold standard, isn't it? It's the benchmark everyone measures against.
Absolutely. The way they do it is, it's magnificent, but it is enormously costly. They take this incredibly detailed snapshot of the planet's atmosphere.
Temperature, wind speed, pressure, all of it.
All of it. And they feed it into these gargantuan systems of equations. We're talking is the math that describes how all fluids and heat move.
It sounds like a global scale physics nightmare.
It is. We're talking petabytes of data, trillions and trillions of calculations. They have to move time forward in these tiny, tiny steps.
It's a few minutes at a time.
A few minutes at a time, yeah. Otherwise, the mathematical chaos it runs away with itself. So a full 15-day forecast takes hours on a massive, dedicated supercomputer.
So it's heavy, it's expensive, and that time and cost, that really limits you.
It limits everything. It limits how often you can run a new forecast, and crucially, it limits how many different versions of the future you can simulate.
Okay, so that's the pivot point. WN2 comes along and doesn't try to solve all those physics equations on every run.
Right. DeepMind basically turned it into a massive video game for the AI.
That's a great way to put it.
They trained the AI on years and years of the outputs from those very same physics models from ECMWF, plus real-world observations.
So the neural network just learns the shortcuts.
It learns the patterns. It learns that when the global atmosphere looks like this today, it almost always evolves to look like that tomorrow. It's not calculating every interaction. It's recognizing the overall picture.
But hold on. If it's trained on the output of the old models, isn't it? Isn't it just inheriting their flaws? Why not stick with the pure physics?
That is the critical question. And the answer is that the physics models, while slow, provide this incredibly valuable training signal, physical consistency.
So it's a clean data set.
It's a clean, physically coherent truth across the entire globe for the AI to learn from. So the AI doesn't just mimic the output. It becomes this ultra-fast emulator. It generalizes the underlying rules that the atmosphere follows.
So it learns the rules from the physics model, then uses those rules to generate futures way, way faster.
Exactly. It's standing on the shoulders of giants, but then it's sprinting past them.
Okay, but the big question is always accuracy. Does the AI shortcut actually hold up against the multi-billion-dollar supercomputer?
And the answer, in Google's own head-to-head tests, is yes. WN2 either matches or, in many cases, actually outperforms the high-resolution ECMWF model on most key variables.
Temperature, wind, pressure.
Even precipitation, which is notoriously difficult. It passes both a physical consistency test and a statistical skill test. The outputs don't just look right, they behave like real weather.
And that combination of speed and accuracy, that's what leads us to the real breakthrough. which is ensembles.
Exactly. Speed by itself is one thing, but speed that lets you run huge ensembles, that changes the entire game of forecasting.
Okay, so let's put some hard numbers on that speed. We said a classic forecast can take hours.
Hours on a massive, dedicated supercomputer cluster.
Hmm.
WN2 can generate a full 15-day global forecast in about 1 minute.
A minute.
On a single modern accelerator. So we're talking something like 8 times faster, maybe much more, depending on what you're running.
1 minute. That is just, it's a monumental change. And because it's so cheap and fast, you're no longer running just 5 or 10 slightly different versions?
Now you can run hundreds, maybe thousands. And each one of those is a completely plausible future for the atmosphere.
And that is what you mean by probabilistic forecasting.
That's the heart of it. A simple forecast is like asking, will the coin land on heads? And getting a yes. One answer.
But the atmosphere is never one answer.
It's never one answer. With probabilistic forecasting, you stack up all those thousands of futures and you create a distribution. You stop asking, will it rain? And you start asking the real question.
The economically useful question.
Right. What is the exact chance this area sees damaging winds over 50 miles an hour in the next 3 days? And the answer is a percentage, a probability.
And if you're managing an energy grid or a shipping fleet, that's everything. It's the difference between guessing and actually managing your risk.
And what's more, it's how you find the dangerous stuff. The flash floods, the hurricanes that suddenly intensify or stall over a coastline, those events live in the tails of the distribution.
The low probability, high impact scenarios.
Exactly. If you only run 10 futures, you might miss that one scenario completely. But if you run 1,000, you are almost guaranteed to see those dangerous possibilities well ahead of time.
So now you don't have to be a logistics expert to see this in action. Anyone can go and explore these outputs using Google Weather Lab.
Yeah, Google Weather Lab is this really fascinating public site. It's experimental, but it exposes these forecasts with a special focus on tracking tropical cyclones.
And when you open it, you're not seeing that familiar cone of uncertainty from the news.
No, not at all. You see the map, and it's covered with dozens, maybe hundreds of these individual thin lines, and each one of those lines is a possible storm track taken directly from one member of that WN2 ensemble.
It's an incredible visualization of risk.
It really is. It builds your intuition immediately. If all the tracks are bundled tightly together, that means there's high confidence. The models are all pretty much in agreement.
But if they fan out wide, like a broom,
that's immense uncertainty. It's telling you that while a storm is likely, its actual path could be anywhere within that huge arc.
And you can use the time slider on the site to just scrub forward, right, to see how that uncertainty grows over time.
Yeah, over the full 15 days, you stop asking what is the path, and you start asking, how many of these plausible futures put my coastline at risk?
It's such a powerful tool. But we have to add the caveat.
Oh, absolutely. We have to be very clear. Weather Lab is experimental. It is not an official warning channel. For any safety decisions, you always rely on your National Meteorological Service.
Of course.
But I guarantee once you see a storm through the lens of individual tracks, you will never look at a simple TV weather graphic the same way again.
Okay, so let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about the developer and industry side of things. Because WN2 isn't just a cool visualization.
No, it's a massive unified global data set that Google has opened up. This is a huge deal. It's basically turning weather into a first-class signal that you can wire directly into your applications.
Moving it out of those specialized channels and into mainstream cloud computing.
Exactly. This is a huge democratization of this kind of data. And they've made it accessible in a few key ways, depending on how your team works.
So first up is Earth Engine.
Right. Earth Engine is perfect for geospatial analysis, for rapid prototyping. If you need to overlay temperature forecasts on satellite imagery of farmland or combine wind speeds with land cover data.
To see where vulnerabilities are.
You can do that in minutes in Earth Engine. It's built for that kind of massive, quick geospatial lookup.
Okay, method 2, BigQuery.
And this is huge for product developers. BigQuery is Google's serverless data warehouse. So if your team speaks SQL, you can just treat these forecasts like any other structured data table.
Which lets you do large-scale analytics.
Large-scale analytics. You can compute the mean precipitation for a region, or, and this is vital, you can compute something like the P90, the 90th percentile of precipitation.
Okay, let's pause on that. P90. Why is the 90th percentile so much more important than the average?
Great question. The average is fine for general planning, but if you're an insurance company or a city designing storm drains, you don't care about the average day. You care about the extreme day that breaks your system.
Yeah.
P90 tells you the rainfall amount that only 10% of the ensemble runs exceeded. It's a direct measure of high-end risk. And being able to compute that instantly for anywhere on the globe is operationally powerful.
Got it. And the third way to access the data?
Is Vertex AI. This is for custom solutions.
Mm-hmm.
If you're building, say, a proprietary pricing engine or a shipping logistics model, you can use Vertex AI to run custom Python code, pull exactly the slice of weather data you need, and wrap it up as a little API for your internal tools.
So that really defines the new landscape.
It does. Traditional NWP hours to run, maybe 50 ensemble members specialized access, WN2. A minute to run, hundreds or thousands of ensemble members, and you access it with standard tools like Earth Engine and BigQuery.
And this shift has some massive implications. First, for the apps we all use.
Right, this is already happening. WN2 is being quietly folded into Google Search, Gemini, Pixel Weather, Maps. It's just making the forecasts you already see better.
Second, for meteorologists, they're not being replaced.
No, not at all. Their job is being elevated. They move from wrangling a few forecast runs to interpreting these incredibly dense probabilistic ensembles. They become auditors of the AI, translators of complex risk.
From data gatherer to risk consultant.
A perfect way to put it. And the third implication, which might be the deepest, is the mental shift it forces on all of us.
The move away from that single number, that one temperature icon on your phone.
To understanding weather as a distribution over many possible futures, you don't get one hurricane track. You get a probability map of every trajectory.
And this fits so much better with how real-world strategic decisions are made.
Perfectly. Think of a grid operator. They can plan dynamic line ratings based on risk bands. They can say, there's a 40% chance of high wind loading here, so we activate contingency plan B.
Or farmers. They can see how many times a late frost shows up in the 1,000-run ensemble before they decide to plant.
Exactly. It's about optimizing based on your own risk tolerance, not just a single prediction. Logistics teams can weigh different routes based on how risk shifts across different corridors. It turns weather from just a piece of information into a tool for actual competitive advantage.
So when you pull it all together, WN2 is this really clear operational example of AI sharpening our view of the future. It's combining decades of hard-won atmospheric science with modern neural networks.
It delivers something that is fast, rich, and maybe most importantly, deeply accessible.
So for anyone just curious, the final suggestion is, go try it.
Absolutely. Open Google Weather Lab, find a live cyclone, and just watch that track spread over the next few days. Watch how the confidence shifts.
You'll never see a storm cone on the news the same way again.
You really won't. And for anyone building things, the message is just as clear. Start wiring this data directly into your systems. Stop treating weather like some generic, opaque service.
The change here isn't just in the model, is it? It's in the decisions we can make with it.
That's the final thought. The most profound change is in the quality of those decisions. So ask yourself this. How much safer or how much more competitive could you be if your choices weren't based on what might happen, but on the precise quantitative probability of an entire range of outcomes? That's the future that AI-powered forecasting is delivering right now.